It started as just another exciting night on The Tonight Show, until Jason Momoa heard something that made time stop and brought tears to 200 people who would never forget what it means to carry home in your heart. Studio 6B was electric with anticipation. Tonight, Jason Momoa was returning to talk about his latest action film and environmental work, Protecting the Pacific Islands. The audience was packed with excited faces, many wearing Hawaiian shirts. What nobody noticed was the girl in row 4, seat 8. Kealani, 12 years old, sat with her grandmother's flower lei around her neck and her grandfather's ukulele held carefully across her lap. The instrument was old, worn smooth from decades of loving hands, with small Hawaiian words carved into its side. Ke aloha o ka aina, meaning the love of the land. Kealani's hands rested on the strings, not playing, just holding, drawing strength from the connection to a man she would never hear laugh again, to islands that felt impossibly far away, to a culture she was terrified of forgetting. If this story moves you, please subscribe to our channel. We share these powerful moments because they matter, because they remind us that culture and family transcend distance, and because stories like Kealani's deserve to be heard. Your subscription helps us continue bringing real stories about real courage. The ukulele had belonged to her grandfather, Makani Kahale, a fisherman who had lived 78 years on Maui. He had been the keeper of family stories, the one who sang the old songs, who spoke Hawaiian fluently when most of his generation had been forced to abandon their language. Kealani had spent every summer in Maui with him, learning to play on this instrument. "Music is how we remember," he would say. "When you play these songs, you keep our islands alive, no matter where your body travels." 2 years ago, everything changed. Makani was diagnosed with lung cancer. The medical bills were devastating. In his final week, he placed the ukulele in Kealani's hands. "This has been played by 4 generations of our family. Promise me you'll play this music wherever you go. Don't let distance make you forget. Keep our culture alive in your heart, in your hands, in these songs. And someday when you meet someone who understands what it means to be Hawaiian, you share this music with them," Kealani promised, her small hands wrapped around the ukulele that smelled like her grandfather's coconut oil and sea salt. 3 days later, Makani passed away. After the funeral, the family faced impossible choices. Medical bills consumed their savings. The family home had to be sold. They returned to Seattle, and Kealani lived in a place where nobody spoke Hawaiian, where the ocean was cold and gray, where people looked at her lei with curiosity instead of recognition. But every night, she played her grandfather's songs, keeping her promise, keeping him alive through music. The show opened with Jimmy's warmth and energy. When he introduced Jason Momoa, the applause was thunderous. Jason walked out wearing a Hawaiian print shirt, his presence filling the studio with warmth. He hugged Jimmy, waved with both hands in the shaka sign, and settled into the guest chair. "Jason Momoa, everybody," Jimmy said. "You bring the aloha spirit every time. Tell us about your environmental work in Hawaii and the Pacific Islands." Jason's expression became serious. "For those of us from island cultures, we understand that land and ocean aren't just resources, they're our ancestors, our family. When you poison the water or destroy coral reefs, you're killing our culture, our identity. For Native Hawaiians, we've already had so much taken. Protecting what's left isn't just environmental activism, it's cultural survival." As Jason spoke with passion about island culture, something happened. From row 4 came the sound of ukulele strings being plucked softly. Not a song, just gentle touches, unconscious comfort-seeking. Jason's sentence trailed off mid-word, his head tilting. He stopped talking completely and closed his eyes, listening intently. "Do you hear that?" Jason asked softly. Jimmy looked confused. "Hear what?" "Ukulele. Someone's playing ukulele, Hawaiian style." The cameras found her. Kealani in row 4, hands frozen on the strings, eyes wide with shock. She hadn't meant to play. Her fingers had sought comfort while Jason spoke about Hawaiian culture, about protecting what her grandfather had loved. Jason stood slowly. "The young lady in row 4 with the ukulele. Would you mind standing up?" Kealani looked at her mother in panic, but Leilani nodded through forming tears. Slowly, Kealani stood, holding the ukulele like the most precious thing in the world. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Kealani Kahali." Jason's face transformed with emotion. "That's a beautiful name. Are you Hawaiian?" Kealani nodded. Jason walked down from the stage. "That's a beautiful ukulele. It looks old, like it has stories." Kealani touched the carved words. "It was my grandfather's. He died 2 years ago. He made me promise to keep playing, to keep our culture alive even though we don't live in Hawaii anymore." The studio fell silent. "He made you promise to keep the culture alive," Jason repeated, tears in his eyes. By now, Jason had reached row 4. He knelt at eye level with Kealani, suddenly just another Hawaiian man connecting with a child from his islands. "Tell me about him." Kealani's composure broke. "His name was Makani Kahali. He was a fisherman in Maui his whole life. He taught me everything about being Hawaiian. When the cancer came, he gave me his ukulele and made me promise that no matter where I lived, I would keep our music alive. He said music is how we remember, how we keep our ancestors with us." Jason touched the ukulele, tracing the Hawaiian words, "Ke aloha o ka aina," the love of the land. "He carved it the day I was born," Kealani said. "He said it was to remind me that I carry the islands in my heart." Jason's hand went to his chest, overwhelmed. "Kealani, do you know what it means to me to hear this? I spend so much time away from the islands, and sometimes I worry I'm losing connection to who I am, but seeing you keep this promise reminds me why our culture matters. Your grandfather was right. By playing his ukulele, you're keeping him alive, keeping all of us alive." Jimmy joined them, tears streaming. "The words you were playing," Jason said, "were those from a song your grandfather taught you?" She nodded. "It's called Aloha O, Farewell to Thee. He sang it to me the last time I saw him. He said it wasn't goodbye, it was until we meet again." Jason closed his eyes. "That's Queen Liliuokalani's song. She wrote it when forced to give up the Hawaiian kingdom. It's about love that survives separation, about connections that can't be broken by distance or death. Would you play it for us? For your grandfather, and for everyone here who needs to understand what it means to carry home in your heart?" Kealani looked terrified. "I'm not very good." "Your grandfather didn't teach you to be perfect," Jason said gently. "He taught you to be connected." With shaking hands, Kealani began to play. The melody was simple, ancient, haunting. Her voice was small, singing in Hawaiian. Then something magical happened. Jason Momoa began to sing with her, his deep voice joining her small one, harmonizing in Hawaiian, their voices carrying grief and love and unbreakable connection. The studio was transfixed, 200 people bearing witness to something that transcended entertainment, that spoke to loss and memory and the ways we keep loved ones alive. When the song ended, Jason pulled Kealani into a tight embrace. "Your grandfather would be so proud," Jason whispered. "You kept your promise. You brought the islands here tonight." But Jason wasn't finished. He pulled off a traditional Hawaiian hook necklace made of carved bone. "This belonged to my grandfather. He gave it to me when I left the islands to pursue acting. He said it would protect me and remind me of where I come from. But I think your grandfather and my grandfather would want you to have it now." He placed it around Kealani's neck, above her grandmother's lei. "Now you carry both of them with you. And whenever you feel lost, you touch this and remember that being Hawaiian isn't about geography. It's about heart." Jason addressed the studio. "Indigenous cultures worldwide are fighting for survival. Our languages are disappearing, our traditions being forgotten, our young people growing up disconnected. But families like the Kahalis, kids like Kealani, they're proof our cultures survive because we refuse to forget. We keep singing the songs, speaking the languages, telling the stories. That's how we resist erasure." Jimmy spoke, emotional. "I think everyone here just learned something profound about honoring ancestors, about keeping promises that matter." Jason looked at Kealani. "Your grandfather said music is how we remember. Tonight you shared that music with all of us. Now we all carry a piece of Makani Kahali. That's the power of culture, the power of keeping promises." The video went viral within hours because it touched something universal, about identity, about loss, about how children carry forward legacies of grandparents who shaped them. Ke Aloha Oka'aina trended worldwide. Within days, Hawaiian cultural organizations offered Kealani scholarships for language immersion programs, traditional music study, connections with other young Hawaiians maintaining culture far from the islands. Jason personally called to connect them with resources to ensure Kealani could visit Maui that summer. 3 months later, both families appeared together. Jason brought his children, teaching them the same song. They performed together, multiple generations connected by culture and understanding that identity is something you fight for, protect, pass on with love and intention. Studio 6B added a plaque in honor of Makani Kahale and all indigenous grandparents who teach their grandchildren to remember. Ke Aloha Oka Aina, the love of the land lives here. The Tonight Show created an ongoing segment featuring indigenous artists and culture keepers, giving platforms to people preserving traditions colonization had tried to erase. Kealani kept her promise, playing her grandfather's ukulele, speaking Hawaiian, teaching younger cousins, becoming a keeper of culture, a bridge between generations, proof that love and identity transcend death and distance. Makani Kahale lived 78 years on Maui, but his music will live forever through his granddaughter's hands, through every person who heard her play that night, through understanding that culture isn't something you inherit passively, it's something you choose actively to keep alive. In Studio 6B that night, Jason Momoa and Kealani Kahale reminded 200 people that being indigenous in the modern world isn't about living in the past, it's about carrying the past forward with pride and love and determination. That home isn't a place on a map, it's the songs you sing, the language you speak, the stories you tell, and the promises you keep to grandparents who loved you enough to teach you who you are. Because as long as someone is singing the old songs, the islands will never truly be far away.